So here we go, starting in medias res, like you do. It can work, especially with a show like this. I kind of wish they had waited a little bit longer. It works because we've already established the characters, so now we have some idea of what them acting differently is. But in my opinion, this kind of thing usually is better pushed back into like a season 2 kind of a deal. I know they had to do some establishment, blah, 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 but you get the idea. I do like how they lost 6 months, aka the time of the show. But what I also like is when she goes back to recover her own memory, she's like, oh, I'm on a team. I have friends. And Superboy. Look, I get why they're all crushing on Superboy. I get it. You know, Artemis did that in the previous episode. You know, I get it. I'm with it. Might lead to some problems later. So it does make sense that she's the first one to recover mental powers, etc. This is probably one of the better examples of Superboy's overall power levels, by the way. We see him not really holding back at all, going full tilt, and it does take him some effort, but he is still able to bend the metal on a tank and rip a tank open and blah, blah, blah. That's probably a good power level indicator. So, nowhere near Superman, but still pretty darn strong, especially given how many hits he takes from actual tank shells, so... Where does Queen Bee get the money for funding this place? Anyways, I love how much Alan Tudyk is in this show, by the way. This is, I think, his third or fourth role I've seen him in so far, and he's actually a really talented voice actor, so it's always nice to see that stuff. So Wally and Robin, of course, recognize each other, and there's some actually really cool character stuff they can show by comparing and contrasting the 6 months ago with the now. There's some pretty obvious examples of this, and some funny moments, too. There's this bit where Wally's like, and it changes his outfit, and everyone else just starts going, you know, nothing happening, obviously. But probably my favorite part is Wally holds Artemis's hand like, it's okay, we got this. And Artemis is like, okay, just the last 6 months. And then they finish, and then they go, and immediately shove their hands off. Just nice little touches like that. So Megan, of course, is like, no, I have to save Superboy, rush in, and... Well, naturally, it was an awful idea. It does actually work out, but let's be honest, she very nearly lost everything there, so that was incredibly reckless and stupid. We also see how the initial attack spread, with Simon... Really? Simon? Simon goes ahead and spreads the attack through the link that they like to use for their communications. It's funny, for once the actual communication might have worked better, but then again, as Batman pointed out, communications would be intercepted, so logic. So then Simon and her have a psychic battle for a decent chunk of the episode. There's an old saying. If you're going to have a battle of the wills with someone, make sure you have the stronger will. Kick his butt. I want to comment on two things really quick here. First of all, it was a fairly long flashback, and I caught the scene that hasn't been in the show yet. That is very curious, and I am very curious if they are going to follow through on that later on. Number two, Superboy dealing with the outside problems, and Megan dealing with the inside problems. That was pretty cool. Number three, Sphere. Sphere's adorable. Scritch, scritch, scritch. And final point, there's this bit where Robin decides to go do the ninja thing and sends off some laughing bombs, which then explode on the people. Now, I'm sure people look at that and they think the Joker, but I gotta be honest, that just sounds like a Quackerjack weapon to me. How many of you have ever heard of Quackerjack? I'm just curious. Anyways, so, you know, they successfully defeat Simon. Everything's cool. Woo! And then we hear Marina Sirtis. I would recognize that voice anywhere. So she's one of the villains, and based on context, she's probably Queen Bee, which means this might actually be the first member of the Light revealed. I am, of course, speculating, but yeah, that's probably where this is going. And then they mention, don't worry, our partner is going to send us other tech. And then we see a boom tube opening. Great. Because the last thing I wanted in my life, the next thing, what I wanted so much is more dark side on my life. Whatever. I guess that's where the general arc is going, if they're going to reveal something like that early on. Whew. I'm curious how long it'll take for Apocalypse to show up. Either way, I'll see you next time.